So welcome back, Elaine, to the Zoom room for another Art of Letting Go live session. So let's jump into today's email. It's a daily quote and a commentary on that, and then we'll lead us nicely into the lesson, which we'll do. Okay, so if you can read that, just make it a little bit bigger. It's quite small.
Yeah,
You can read that
yeah, I can see it.
quote.
Unless you put your house of your life, physical and verbal structures in order, the urge for exploration of that which is beyond time and space will remain only a wish in the mind. If there is disorder in simple things of life like diet, sleep, exercise, breathing, trying to build a structure of exploration will be like building a house in the sand.
Yeah, so a great quote by a lady called Vimala Thakar, who's an Indian spiritual teacher and also social activist. And she's really referring to the parable of the houses built on the rock and sand. It's one of Yeshua's best known parables. And she relates it to the fundamental structures of like breathing, diet, exercise, and sleep that support your exploration of the truth and your spiritual growth towards full realization of the truth. So I think there's, a valid point here. It's kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If your sleep, exercise, breathing, diet is all over the place and there's no discipline in that, how can you expect to be open to that which is beyond time and space? So in all the spiritual practices like yoga, they start off with some foundational practices. In yoga, they call it yama, the yamas and the niyamas. So that's the observances. So you're gonna practice certain things, maybe like fasting, like clean speech, eating vegetarian food, whatever, and abstain from doing things like taking intoxicants, alcohol, drugs, abstain from foul language, abstain from sex, and so on. And all of that is designed to start purifying the mind and bringing in a structure of discipline, a foundation, if you like, on which then the rest of the spiritual path that they are that particular practice is going to take you on then leads to. So there's always in spiritual practice, in spiritual awakening, there's always a degree of self-discipline that's required. So if I look at my own path, I did a lot of this in my teens and 20s because I was aiming to be a professional squash player, and so I had to look at more closely than most people at things like breathing. I taught myself to breathe through my nose when I was exercising. So that was my start of breathwork training. Diet, I looked at the Ayurvedic diet. Didn't work so well for me, and eventually settled on a diet called the Zone diet, which I've been on for 25 years. It's
Xander.
called the Zone diet. Yeah, so it's
Never heard.
yeah, it's sort of where nutrition has moved in the last 30 years. That was sort of the forerunner of the Paleolithic diet. The idea is that you eat less carbs, less carbohydrates. You balance your carbohydrates with the correct amount of protein and the right amount of fat, and it's the correct type of fat and carbohydrates, ideally. So, nothing really that's actually revelatory. It's just what we'd call a balanced diet.
Yeah,
In
like a
the
Mediterranean diet. A bit of
yeah,
pasta,
Mediterranean diet. So you have some
fish.
carb, you have protein, but the carbs the better types of carbs are salads, and fruits and vegetables essentially, rather than the processed high glycemic stuff. So
Yeah,
processed pasta, rice, potatoes, starch, all that stuff, sweets, chocolates. Really staying away from processed food and saying, okay, more natural fruit and vegetables is the foundation. So that's 40% of the calories at any meal or snack, and then 30% protein, and 30% and the right kind of protein. So lean protein, you can do vegetarian protein, or you can do animal protein. That's a choice that everyone can make. There's plenty of sources of good quality vegetarian protein if you want to be vegetarian or even vegan. And then 30% is fat, and that's monounsaturated fats like olive oils and uh, avocados and things like that. Nuts, seeds, avocados. So yeah, kind of a classic, not really Italian diet, but Mediterranean,
olive
with
oil.
yeah, olive oil and just
Fish.
balancing the carbs. So not fish, and not going overboard on the starch. That you would have very little of that or none at all. I mean, we eat as a family, and we won't have filler carbs. We won't have rice or
Yeah,
potatoes, or very seldom, sometimes, but
not much.
mostly
Yeah,
it'd be like a salad
yeah,
and some fish or something, and that's
yeah.
enough. With fish, then the carbs on the
And
salad
do
and the
you,
fish.
do you eat 3 meals a day, or just one meal a day?
No, I don't eat 3 meals a day. Yeah, generally just once, and then maybe a sort of a snack type
And they
meal.
say
So
you're supposed to have the king's meal in the morning or early afternoon. Is that
mm,
right? Not late at night.
yeah, I mean, I think sort of we normally eat it as a family is about between 6 and 7. So
Oh yeah, well that's
then
right.
and
Yeah.
I work late in the night generally, so
Ah
it's
yeah,
all
yeah, yeah.
digested
So
by the
post
time.
operative.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's all digested by the
You're
time
not.
I
Yeah, yeah. By the time you retire, yeah, I know what you
yeah.
mean. Yeah,
You don't want to
so
go to bed ideally on a full stomach.
yeah, no,
So
I've
these
done
are things to consider. They're not ultimate truth. But they're foundational practices.
the
If
common sense on.
your diet's all over the place, and you keep spiking your blood sugar levels, and they're going all over the place, and your mood is fluctuating because of that, how are you going to then have the discipline to, okay,
Yeah,
now I need to, meditate and, find the peace of God? Because
no,
probably that type of lifestyle then tends to go, fast food, junk food. It tends to go with things like TV, internet, various forms of mind-numbing entertainment.
yeah,
You find people get caught up in these patterns, and it becomes a very unhealthy lifestyle, and they just, they're not open to spiritual awakening. Often what will help them to free themselves from that is some kind of health crisis. So they'll do that, and then, oh, actually my health
yeah.
is
Of
it's
course,
failing, and then they have to correct
wake
it.
up.
And so
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
often how people start awakening, is they start going on it. Okay, well, my health is in trouble here. Maybe I've got a terminal illness. I need to do something. And then, they start looking at these kinds of practices. You have to look at your
mm,
diet and breathing and exercise and sleep, and start putting that in place. And then, that forms then the foundation for spiritual growth that will come in time. So as I said, I did all of this pretty much in my teens and 20s. I didn't know I was doing it. I was doing it to be a better squash player. I didn't think I was doing it for
good. It's put
spiritual
you in good
awakening at
stead.
that point. But
Yeah,
that's what it led to. And then I started meditating. in my 20s, and combined with everything, I was really on a spiritual path, although I didn't know it. And with the meditation, it started to like really awaken my mind and go, okay, so what is actually going on here? And questions that previously I hadn't asked, you start to ask and want answers. And if I hadn't done all of that preparatory stuff, then maybe that wouldn't have happened. So definitely part of what Ken Wilber would call integral transformative practice, that you need to look holistically at your life. If your diet, exercise, sleep, breathing is all over the place, how can you honestly expect to awaken spiritually and be a master of your mind and in control of your thoughts and emotions if that you've got, then the ego has got a great playground then in your life to start causing havoc through those poor habits. It'll affect your mood continuously. You'll find that your energy levels go up and down, your moods go up and down, and it's very difficult with that disorganized, chaotic structure to find the stability of mind that that any spiritual practice is designed to help you achieve. So she makes a good point, and then relates it to the parable, which is, as I said, one of his most famous ones. So there's the parable directly quoted from the Gospel of Matthew. So if you can read that, Elaine, for us.
Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house. But it did not fall, because it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it.
Mm-hmm. So the meaning of the parable is that the winds and the rain and the floods are symbolic of the adversity that we can encounter in life, however that looks. That can come in many forms. And if your house is built on the rock, in other words, a foundation of truth, love, peace, and joy, then you'll be able to weather the storm because your foundation is strong. But if it's built on the sand, which is constantly shifting, it's not a stable foundation, i.e. the ego's thought system that's not based on eternal truth, but on appearances, then the adversity comes and then you'll suffer greatly. And often you'll feel like, well, everything's falling apart. And, what do I do? And because there isn't the faith. Of course, that experience is a call for faith. So it can lead someone into faith, no doubt. There are often people in great adversity turn to God because there's nothing else. And they will find it in their darkest hour. They will, find his presence. But ideally, you want to prepare. So Eckhart Tolle, I don't know if you watched his video in which he comments on this parable.
Yeah.
No, this one. So this was so how this actually unfolded. It was 4 years ago in COVID, 2020 actually. No, we don't want you. Thanks. It's this was COVID. There we go. Skip. So this was recorded during COVID.
I'd like to share with you.
And then he shares he shares this parable from the Bible, and then gives an interpretation of it, designed for that time. It was when lockdowns were happening. People didn't know what was going on. They were isolated. They were afraid. Their income had often been cut, and so on. So It was a message for those times, but obviously at any point in time, this could be applicable. You know, adversity can come at any time, as he says. So rather be prepared. You know, this kind of mind training will be building. You're building your house on a rock of truth, of faith, love, peace, joy, learning to discipline your mind, learning to control your thoughts and emotions, learning to let go of minor adversities, so that if something major comes, it's easier. If you can't let go of someone cutting you off on the road, and you get really angry about that, how are you going to deal with someone stealing a whole lot of money from you, or losing a loved one to death or illness or whatever, so it's practice. It's this practice is building your foundation on the rock of truth, so that when adversity comes, and you're already facing significant adversity, that it helps you to deal with it.
Yes. Yeah.
In a way that is the most effective, most functional, and doesn't disturb your peace of mind, so that you can cope with things that you just wouldn't cope with if your house is built on the sand. Within the ego's thought system, some of these severe adversities, these tests that people get, like, how do you cope with that if you believe in the story and you believe in the seeming reality of the body and the separate identity?
Well, like my friend Linda, she messaged me, and I think it's her second son, his anniversary of passing, because two of them have gone. Linda, my friend, through her house being on rock, she's been able to cope with it very well. Doing the Course in Miracles and so forth. Yeah.
Whereas that kind of thing can devastate people. They can just
go two sons as well.
If you don't have a way of looking at it that frees you from all of the dark thoughts and emotions of the ego, then it can absolutely devastate you, and people can go into depression for years. They can become suicidal, and it's not necessary, because you can, no matter what the darkness is, this teaching is saying, well, the light is still there. It's just buried underneath the dark thoughts and emotions. So, your job, if you're going to build your house on the rock, is to get very skilled at being able to let go of the darkness and return your mind to that, rock-like foundation of truth in every situation. Stay in presence, as Eckhart Tolle said. Stay in the presence of now. Actually, right now, everything's okay. It always is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even if you're dealing with some adversity, you can deal with it moment by moment. What you can't deal with is all kinds of fear thoughts, worry, going into the future. Oh, well, what if this happens? What if this happens? And we play out the scenarios, and then you just go down the rabbit hole of the future, which is based on your past expectations. So the past is still involved. So, I didn't cope in the past, or this happened in the past, so therefore I fear that this will happen, or worse will happen in the future. And all of that is doing is trying to keep you in time and space, the shifting sands of time, they're called, and not able to access the power of presence in each moment. The past and the future are designed to distract you from that and keep you in a mentally and emotionally turbulated state, so the ego is then running your mind and running your life. And so whenever you start finding yourself going down a rabbit hole, what if this happens? What if this happens? How am I going to deal with that? That's worry. You go out of the now, and you start losing the peaceful presence, and the joy of spirit, which is only ever now. So you got to really watch your mind to be vigilant of that. And that mind watching practice and that vigilance is then the continuous practice of building your house, which is your life, and your mind on the foundation of truth. So the parable is just teaching us where we should be putting our faith. In the love of God, or the kingdom of heaven, or presence, or the ground of being, or pure formless awareness of perfect love, or whatever other name you want to use for the transcendent reality of the perennial philosophy that all the great spiritual teachers and teachings have pointed to through the ages. So the perennial philosophy underlies all, the great religions and spiritual teachings. And it's really just saying very simply that there's another reality, that this isn't the only reality, that there is a deeper, higher reality, however you want to phrase that, that's beyond this world, that you can access. You can find it within. So Yeshua said the kingdom of heaven is within. Because it's within your own mind. It's not form-based, it's beyond form. So if you want to explore the parable in greater depth, there's a half-hour podcast with a friend of mine who actually, the history is quite interesting. He, in response to, I posted Eckhart's video out at the time, 2020, to a WhatsApp message I sent out with a link to the video. And then he obviously felt inspired to record that podcast to give it a deeper perspective. So Eckhart, talks about the interpretation, but he doesn't really go into some of the nuances and the subtleties and the Christian mystic interpretation, shall we say. Whereas Stephen, who is, I would say, a Christian mystic, he's Christian, but very much on the mystic side of Christianity, explains it with reference to Christianity and what is the deeper meaning of the parable, which I thought was quite interesting. I don't know if you listened to it, but he reveals quite a lot in that. So definitely worth watching those two videos, to listening to those talks, to get a very broad and different perspectives on this really quite profound parable. So then we discussed this in today's bonus session. We also did a 45-minute breathwork training session. So if you want to refresh on that, you can go and listen to it. In the ancient languages like Greek, Latin, and Sanskrit, they use the same word for breath, life, energy, and spirit. They're synonymous. It's pneuma in Greek, spiritus in Latin, prana in Sanskrit. And this means the breath, but it also means life and energy and life force and spirit, kind of all rolled into one. Other ancient cultures, so if you look at Hawaii, which isn't classical, it's a shamanic culture, that was very important to them as well. So they believed that you could bring in positive energy and expel negative energy with your breath, which is exactly what you're doing whenever you listen to a breath break, right? You inhaling the positive, looking at the negative, whatever comes up, and then using your breath to release it. It was such a significant part of their lives that the Hawaiian word for breath, ha, begins the island's name. So, then we did a belly breathing technique, shallow mouth breathing. We did a simple diaphragmatic breathing. And so these, again, look at a simple practice like breathing. If you shallow mouth breathe and you get into the sympathetic nervous system, you activate that, that's related to the fight or flight response mode. That stimulates the production of stress-producing hormones like cortisol, adrenaline, epinephrine, norepinephrine. So you just make the problem worse. And in a classic panic attack, people tend to breathe through their mouth. Did you ever watch that movie As It Is in Heaven?
Oh, I did, yes. Yes.
So you remember the scene where the pastor or priest, whatever he was, of the local church, and he was confronted by Daniel, who's the hero of the story, is the conductor.
Yeah.
and he's absolutely freaking out. He's basically having a panic attack. Do you remember that
Right.
scene?
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
going
yeah. Yeah.
through the mouth, yeah, mouth breathing, which is quite interesting,
Yeah.
because that's the fight or flight response mode, and he's completely, and Daniel's just saying, just breathe, relax, just breathe, because he knows, because he's been in the music world, the importance of breathing for singing, and if you're playing a wind instrument and so on, just breathe to bring all of that down. So a very simple way of countering the fight or flight response and the stress response, we'd call it, is do deep diaphragmatic breathing. And if you breathe deeply and slowly through your nose for even a minute or two, you can't feel stressed anymore. The stress levels really start to diminish because you activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So you avoid the anxiety and the disturbance that fight or flight response brings. It also suppresses the proper functioning of systems that are not essential to your immediate survival, like your digestive, reproductive, and immune systems, to mobilize additional energy for your upcoming fight or flight. So then if you stay in that heightened state, those systems start to not work very well. Obviously, if your digestive, reproductive, and immune systems don't work very well, that's going to compromise your health. Digestive is essential. Your gut health is essential to overall health. And the immune system is essential to your health. If your immune system starts running down, then you're much more likely to get ill. So this stress response is not helpful in dealing with 99.99% of the situations we face in life, which are not life-threatening. Fighting or running away from people is never the best way to deal with apparent conflict. And these reactions to apparently external threats only create more stress for you and everyone else involved. They never really work. But if we can just calm ourselves, we can breathe deeply through our nose, and activate this parasympathetic nervous system, we start calming down, we start relaxing, we start feeling more poised. And that mental and emotional state is it's a far more optimal one in which to respond to any apparent external threats. So deep diaphragmatic breathing is a wonderful tool for cultivating self-awareness, will also improve your mental and physical health. So this is what we start seeing. You do these practices, they not only help your physical and mental health, but they are part of your awakening journey. They're good for you on every level if you do them regularly. So doing some kind of breath practice is a foundational practice that's helping you to build your foundation on the rock rather than on the sand, and will support you in living a healthier, happier, and more effective life. This breath watching, breathing deeply through your nose while you focus all your attention on your breathing, is a wonderful spiritual practice that I call breath watching. The Buddhists call it anapanasati, or anapana for short, which means mindfulness of breathing in Pali. And that's a part of the Vipassana meditation technique that the Buddha taught 2,500 years ago. So this simple practice of observing one's breathing is the foundation of the modern mindfulness movement. Started in the 1970s by John Kabat-Zinn and others, but I think he coined the name mindfulness. So all he did was said, okay, this is already there. It just needs to be renamed so that we don't have anapanasati, which is going to scare a whole lot of Westerners off. And we'll just call it mindfulness, and we'll call it breath watching and observation of the body, body scanning and breath watching rather than anapanasati and vipassana. But it's the same thing, just by a different name. And that's all that mindfulness is, really. And when I did the Vipassana retreat, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand where mindfulness came from. This is the spiritual root of it. In this, ancient Buddhist practice and other practice, yoga, but then the Buddha learned from the yogic tradition as well. So it's all, you know, foundational Eastern spiritual practice. And then it just took form as the mindfulness movement in the West. And they really, what they did was they stripped out the dogma of the religious teachings, and they just said, well, focus on the actual practice, because the practice itself, you know, has all these benefits, which is almost a return. If you look at what happened with Buddhism, the Buddha came in, there was 2,500 years ago, there was a lot of dogma. In his view, Hinduism had lost its way. They were worshipping multiple gods, and really, you know, the whole thing had become corrupted in his view. And what he restored through his understanding was a very simple practice of watching your breath and scanning your body. And he gave that practice to all of his disciples and anyone he learned from him. He said, look, I'm not teaching you dogma here and theory. He didn't really focus very much on that. He focused on the practice, and he said, just do the practice and you'll come to your own realizations. So it's almost like 2,500 years later, that's happened again. And the mindfulness movement is like, okay, strip away all the dogma of 2,500 years of Buddhist thought, and just go back to the essential practice of Buddhism, which is to be mindful of your breathing and mindful of your body. And when you do that, then you start to awaken. If you do that consistently and regularly, then that practice helps you to awaken to who you really are. So just doing 10 minutes of breath watching twice a day can profoundly change your life. Just 20 minutes a day, which isn't that much, can start awakening you and start resetting your mind into you know, a deeper awareness of your source. So we also talked about the true meaning of the crucifixion, section 1 of chapter 6, because it was Easter weekend at the time. And the message really is that everyone can transcend the suffering caused by the ego's thought system of fear, attack, sacrifice, and death, symbolizing the crucifixion of Yeshua, by letting it go and choosing eternal life or pure formless awareness, which was symbolized in his resurrection instead. And then I explained the 8 limbs of yoga as a good model for structuring one's life in a way that supports your spiritual growth, as Vimala Thakar urges us to do. So you can see how it's all integrated. You know, the true meaning of the crucifixion is that you shouldn't suffer. The Holy Spirit doesn't want you to suffer. It just wants you to awaken. So put in place an integral transformative practice in your life that's going to help you awaken. And there are many sources to draw from. There's Buddhism, there's yoga, that have, you know, these amazing practices, really, that the West's only just discovering. You know, it's very new. It's like 50 years old in the West, that people are you know, starting to become aware of this. So well, maybe 100. It started in the 20s actually with Paramahansa Yogananda. He went to California, so he was kind of the trailblazer, and then you know, it started to take hold, and now it's quite common. People go, oh well, I'm going to go do yoga, but the yoga that they do is physical. You know, it's often just the hatha yoga or variation of that, with and the spiritual, the 8 limbs are not well communicated. It's not communicated. This is actually part of a spiritual path to awaken you to who you really are and free your mind from the cycle of birth and death. There's some yoga teachers who understand that and do teach it, but many of them just focus on the practice. You know, it's basically a workout. So again, you know, that's where it's helpful to understand the roots of it, so that you can incorporate it in to an integral transformative practice. I've done a lot of yoga in my time, especially hot yoga, and it was really very very helpful in letting go. So you're hanging out in this hot room, and it gets very uncomfortable physically and mentally. You know, you can feel quite pushed and distressed. But I learned to let that go and just go, okay, well, I just do it. And
Is that the same with
all of that resistance.
Is that the same with your Vipassana course as well? Because that was quite a long, lengthy sitting, wasn't it? So that would have been very painful at times.
Yeah, it wasn't easy because you know you're sitting for like 12 hours a day. But I'm glad I did it because you know what came out of it was
Oh
an
yeah.
understanding of truth, pure formless awareness of
Mm,
perfect love dawned on my mind on day 9, and I really, you know, maybe for the first time, my life was like, oh, I get it. You know,
yeah.
that's actually what I'm talking
But did
about.
you
It's
at
that
the beginning
spirit.
feel like, oh, what's this all about? Did you feel sort of despondent?
Um, no, not really. I mean, look, I've done a lot of this before.
Oh, I see, right.
You know, I've done lots of breath work. I've done meditation. It wasn't unfamiliar to me. So
Oh,
it was just I've never done 12 hours a day. You know, it would be like I've done, you know, maybe up to 3 hours a day sometimes. But 12 hours is like another level of it,
mm.
and silence. And so it was like, okay, well, you know, I think I'm ready for this. I'm prepared. I've done enough to be able to
You had
handle
to
it.
get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. When you go
Four
to
o'clock.
bed, you know, you're in bed by 10. So, you know, it's like
Okay,
you
so yeah, fair enough.
get
And, and do you
sort of
get
six
much
hours.
food? Food? Do you get any food?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
much
they feed you.
food.
Yeah, they do feed
Once
you.
a
They feed
day.
you quite well. No, twice.
Yeah.
You get 2 meals. The
Oh, do
one
you?
you get one main meal at lunchtime,
Yeah.
and then they give you breakfast. And there's no dinner.
Ah, right. Yes, because obviously if
So
you
you
have
kind of
to
fast. You do an intermittent fasting essentially from you know lunchtime on.
till the morning.
Generally you're done by 12:30. Yeah, generally you've eaten by 12:30, 1 o'clock latest, and
Uh,
then you know you'll fast until the next morning. So which is you know it's okay. It's part of the practice. Hmm.
it was quite strict though, isn't it? Strict.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Disciplined,
mean
yeah.
they you know very strict on it because I guess if they give you a whole lot of leeway, then you won't learn the practice.
Yeah.
Properly. I mean, I would incorporate some yoga because you're just sitting, you know, there's no stretching. I
Yeah.
would certainly, but then, you know, they just do Vipassana. That's what they do. That's the
Yeah.
modality. They do one
Yeah.
thing, they do the Vipassana meditation, and you know, you really immerse yourself in that. And so I was like, okay, you know, I accepted that. I did, because you weren't supposed to exercise, but I did kind of one morning, just have a quick run.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like,
Understandable.
I just need to sort of sweat, and everyone's
Yeah.
at
Yeah. I can
everyone's
understand that.
having breakfast. So I just did a
Decide to
quick
do that. Yeah.
some exercise,
Complete. Yeah.
and I would do a bit of yoga in my room, which you could do. You know, they said what you do in your room, you can do in your room, but you know, the room was
Okay.
small. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
So
I mean, you do have you know some flexibility to do
movement.
your
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you know, if I was organizing a retreat, I'd make it more integral. We'd be like, oh, okay, well, yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
Absolutely.
we might do 8 hours of meditation, and then we'll complement it with 2 hours of yoga.
Yeah.
But they didn't,
Absolutely.
you know, it's just Vipassana, it's not yoga, so they don't mix the modalities. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
can recommend it. I mean, it's a great, you know, it's a great practice, a great experience to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, who knows what comes after 9 days of silent
Yeah.
meditation, a very
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
state of mind. And, you know, I had an insight into heaven, you know, revelation. It was
Yeah.
a revelatory
Mm.
experience for a short
That
time.
sounds
It
wonderful.
wouldn't have happened if I'd just been doing my normal thing, almost certainly.
No.
You know,
No.
it happened. It came
No.
because of that preparation. And then it was almost like preparation for this Art of Letting Go community. Because immediately afterwards, a few days afterwards, we started with you know an Art of Letting Go course
Mm-hmm.
on which John and Sue Renard attended, and
Yeah.
they you know referred it to many other people, including Sally, and that's how you came. So you know it was
Mm-hmm.
it was like okay, this community is going to start you know flowering and blossoming once I'd done spiritual work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd also had a profound letting go experience because I had to let go of, you know, again, financial loss. Just before that, a lawyer had you know,
Oh, you
really
said
unethically taken money from me. And I had to let that go and just go, well, you know, what am I choosing? I choose peace instead of this. And I want to go and do the
yes.
retreat. So, let me just focus on what's important rather than getting stuck into a fight with the lawyer, which I could have done if I, followed the ego, and then I wouldn't have done the retreat, and then who knows, things would have played out very differently. I don't necessarily think we would be here today if I hadn't made those choices. So, it was necessary for my own growth and awakening, and then that's reflected in the community. That started to flower and blossom then. And, so whenever these letting go experiences come, what I always go, oh, great. I go, this is a chance for transformation. This is an opportunity for something, good to happen, a blessing. And to take whatever needs to, to allow whatever needs to happen and take it to the next level. So, I'm just this last one. It wasn't as much money, but it was similar. Someone's just taking you for a ride, and it's the principle, and you can feel angry about that and hardly done by and unfairly treated, or you can just let it go and go, well, I'm opening myself to these gifts of eternal love, peace, and joy that come from God or pure formless awareness. And I'm choosing that instead of, the anger and the resentment and keeping myself stuck in that state, because then you block your own abundance. Then you block the flow. You stay in that state, you block the flow of abundance coming to you, because you are consciously blocking it and saying, I don't want that. I prefer, thoughts of limitation and lack and scarcity and attack and anger and resentment and so on. That's my chosen state then. So how can you expect true abundance to come if you're choosing, the opposite of abundance? Because the true abundance is within. True abundance is your inner state. The love and the peace and the joy that you experience is your abundance. And then from that comes thoughts and emotions and decisions and actions, and all of that then creates your life, the house of your life. So is it built on a foundation of abundance, which is the rock of eternal truth, or is it built on a foundation of limitation, lack, and scarcity? The shifting sands of time in the parable. And you have a choice. In every moment, you have a choice as to which foundation you're going to choose. So choose love, peace, and joy instead. And the way you do that is to let go of the opposites of it. Just let drop the fear and the anger and the upsets in any form. Drop that, let it go, and then what remains must be love, peace, and joy, because that's your natural state. So it's not actually that hard. To crack the abundance code, as I call it, it's not rocket science. It's not actually that difficult a principle to understand. And quite simple. Go into the abundance, stay in that abundant state, and let that guide your thoughts, words, and actions. And it's likely that abundant state will then manifest, and that will have manifest results in your life, because that's the way the mind works. It manifests. It either extends or projects out, depending on which teacher you're looking to. But it's going to do one or the other. You are going to extend or project. That's what Yeshua says. So it is going to manifest in form in some way. It's just, which teacher are you going to choose, and which forms are you then going to choose to manifest? So definitely, worth watching this, listening to this Fundamentals of Breathwork training. It's an insightful discussion, especially if you still unconsciously believe, because of exposure to traditional Christian teaching, that Yeshua was crucified as a sacrifice to atone for the sins of the world, and some kind of penance that needs to be paid to God. The true message of the crucifixion is actually that none of that's true. The message of crucifixion is that all of that thought system of sacrifice, which is symbolized in the crucifixion, is just false. It's false. It's untrue. It has no reality. It has no bearing on anything. So you can let it go, and you can resurrect your mind into a state of eternal love, peace, and joy. And that's the message of the crucifixion. So there it is. We did some breathwork training, and then the meaning of the crucifixion, which you can listen to, a good session if I recall. And then yeah, if you want to go into the Vipassana style breath watching and body scanning meditation, we covered this in the breathwork course that was incorporated in the Art of Letting Go course, but it's a refresher on that. There it is. So there's a 35-minute Vipassana style breath watching and body scanning meditation that guides you through both the Anapanasati, the breath watching, and the body scanning, which is Vipassana, in just 35 minutes. So it's yeah, short, sweet, but incorporates the full Vipassana breath watching and body scanning in that meditation. Okay, so that brings us to today's lesson. Got maybe 20 minutes to cover that, so let's jump straight in, shall we? Right, so if you can read, just dive into lesson 1. My holiness envelops everything I see in the original and then in the alternative, kindly. Sentence by sentence.
My holiness envelops everything I see. Am I doing both, am I?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. My pure formless awareness envelops everything I perceive. From
So
my
holiness is the way we translate it is pure formless awareness, which makes it, I think, more accessible. So, okay, it's just my holiness is my own true awareness. That's what, otherwise it can be a bit, well, what is my holiness? What does that word even mean? It's all a bit inaccessible. I certainly never really resonated with these kinds of words. Holiness, what does that actually mean? But my pure formless awareness, okay, so there's an awareness that is pure and formless, and I can tap into that. If I go into meditation or breathing, I can tap into that awareness and I can experience what that feels like. That's my holiness being experienced. So it's changing the language to help us to understand on a deeper level. Okay. I'll read it from the top.
From my holiness does the perception of the real world come. My perception of the real world comes from pure formless awareness. Having forgiven, I no longer see myself as guilty. Having let go, I no longer perceive myself as guilty. I can accept the innocence that is the truth about me. I can accept the innocence that is the truth about me. Seen through the understanding eyes, the holiness of the world is all I see, for I can picture only thoughts I hold about myself. Perceived through the understanding eyes, the purity and innocence of the world is all I perceive, for I can perceive only the thoughts I hold about myself. From the top, my pure formless awareness envelops everything I perceive. My perception of the real world comes from my pure formless awareness. Having let go, I no longer perceive myself as guilty. I can accept the innocence that is the truth about me, perceived through understanding eyes, the purity and innocence of the world is all I perceive, for I can perceive only the thoughts I hold about myself.
Okay. So what's said there? Summary of that.
So it's just saying our perception of the real world coming from pure formless awareness. Once we've forgiven and let go, we can no longer see ourselves as guilty and accept our innocence and truth. So
I can perceive only the thoughts I hold about myself.
Yeah.
So if I'm perceiving a world of purity and innocence, then I must believe my own purity and innocence. If I see a world of sin and guilt and fear and attack, then I must believe that these ideas are real, that myself is guilty, sinful, worthy of punishment, fear. It's why the change in perception is so key, because you're going to extend or project out what you believe is within. So as you perceive, so you confirm in your mind that you are. When you perceive a fearful, attacking, hateful world, then you must believe that that's your identity. That you're a victim, that you're very limited, that you're threatened. And your perceptions just reinforce that self-concept over and over and over again. As you change your mind and choose love, then your perceptions extend from love. And you see innocence and you see purity, even in the face of the ego's chaos and madness, which may still be there, but you overlook it. You don't acknowledge its reality. Okay. Happy with that one. Let's move on to next one, which is a summary of lesson 37. So again, read it in the original alternative.
My holiness blesses the world. My pure formless awareness blesses the world. The perception of my holiness does not bless me alone. The perception of my pure formless awareness does not bless me alone. Everything I see in its light shares in the joy it brings to me. Everyone and everything I perceive in its awareness shares in the joy it brings to me. There is nothing that is apart from joy, because there is nothing that does not share my holiness. There is nothing that is apart from this joy, because there is nothing that does not share my pure formless awareness. As I recognize my holiness, so does the holiness of the world shine forth for everyone to see. As I recognize my pure formless awareness, so does the pure formless awareness that underlies the world extend for everyone to perceive.
Right? And
then, my pure formless awareness blesses the world. Perception of my pure formless awareness does not bless me alone. Everyone and everything I perceive in its awareness shares in the joy it brings to me. There is nothing that is apart from this joy, because there is nothing that does not share my pure formless awareness. As I recognize my pure formless awareness, so does the pure formless awareness that underlies the world extend for everyone to perceive.
Yeah, what's he saying there?
Just saying that this pure formless awareness doesn't just bless me alone, it blesses everyone and everything in this awareness and shares the joy. And there's nothing apart from this joy. We all share in this. Once we recognize it, we can extend to everyone to perceive, and they extend.
Yeah, so he's talking about the extension, of the mind. In our perception, we extend it to others, and the more we extend love, peace, and joy, the more we experience it. So it's the flow. When we extend something, then we must experience it. We can't extend it without experiencing it ourselves, can we?
Mm.
So extending it in our perception of other people and things is essential. That keeps the flow of this joy going, and joy is our natural state. This is where we feel happy, comfortable, free, light, clear. So the more we bless the world, the more we bless ourselves. So my holiness blesses the world. My pure formless awareness blesses the world. And then that moves us, prepares us nicely for the next one, which I think is one of my favorite lessons, actually, the whole course. So it's really just reiterating the idea that there's no order of difficulty in miracles.
There is nothing my holiness cannot do. There is nothing my pure formless awareness cannot do. My holiness is unlimited in its power to heal, because it is unlimited in its power to save. My pure formless awareness is unlimited in its power to heal, because it is unlimited in its power to awaken. What is there to be saved from except illusions? What is there to be awakened from except illusions? And what are all illusions except false ideas about myself? And what are all illusions except false ideas about myself? My holiness undoes them all by asserting the truth about me. My pure formless awareness undoes them all by asserting the truth about me. My holiness undoes them all by, in the presence of my holiness, which I share with God Himself, all idols vanish. In the presence of my pure formless awareness, which I share with pure formless awareness of perfect love itself, all my false beliefs vanish. And then from the top, there is nothing my pure formless awareness cannot do. My pure formless awareness is unlimited in power to heal, because it is unlimited in its power to awaken. What is there to be awakened from except illusions? And what are all illusions except false ideas about myself? My pure formless awareness undoes them all by asserting the truth about me. In the presence of my pure formless awareness, which I share with pure formless awareness of perfect love itself, all my false beliefs vanish. So it's just saying that this pure formless awareness is unlimited in its power. It's to heal, because it's unlimited, to awaken, and so it's just saying, what is there to be awakened from except illusions, which are false ideas about ourselves.
Yeah, and I use the emojis to demonstrate anger and fear and the head exploding with too many ideas and shock and then just delusion, just being confused and deluded. And so by dropping all of those, false ideas and thoughts and emotions, we open to the awareness beyond them, pure, which is just pure and formless. Makes complete sense. Just drop everything else, and what remains must be your fundamental, foundational awareness, which we call pure formless awareness. The ground of being, it's been called by philosophers, because it's the awareness without which you would have no existence. It's the awareness that you cannot deconstruct. You can't go beyond that awareness because there's nothing else. And this is, the eternal nature of ourselves, which is God. You can't go beyond it. You can't deconstruct it. It simply is. It doesn't matter what the ego does to try and cover that over. and apparently destroy it, that awareness remains, as it always has been, and as it always will be. That awareness remains in your mind, but now as a potential and a possibility rather than actuality, because you're not aware of that awareness. And the whole point of the spiritual awakening is to become aware of the awareness systematically and progressively until eventually this awareness is your awareness. And in this awareness of pure formless awareness, there's nothing you can't do because you're not limited anymore by any of the false beliefs of the ego. Those have all been dropped away. And so it's pure, present, infinite potential that you exist in. And in that, purely present potential state, anything can and often does happen on the level of form that is helpful and beneficial. Okay. So great lesson. There's nothing my holiness cannot do. Reiteration of the first principle of miracles. There's no order of difficulty in miracles. So really saying the same thing. And, it's still a major lesson, isn't it? To really understand. There is nothing my pure formless awareness cannot do, no matter what the challenge is, no matter what seemingly is happening. There's nothing that it can't do because it's completely transcendent of any of the ego's thoughts and emotions. So it is not limited by those rules at all.
It's a good one, yeah. Yeah, because at times I feel sort of anxious about my situation, but as you probably, you're a bit more in tune with your awareness, but I do realize that's true, so it doesn't matter what's going on. It does, it alleviates a whole lot of it.
If it's all illusion, why are you worried about it?
Yeah, but even if whatever illusion or whatever it is, the awareness just clears it all away. That's it. Yeah, whether you believe it's illusion or not, it's quite clear that it's when you tune into it, of course. That's the thing, isn't it?
It becomes self-evident that's an illusion because it's not there anymore. If you go into pure formless awareness,
I see. Yes, but
it disappears. So where is it then? Where's the? If it's not in your mind, it's not in your awareness. Then where is it? It's gone. So how can it be real?
Ego thought system, isn't it? Yeah, it's in your ego thought system. It feels like all this is solid. Where you're living and all of your family, and it all feels solid. But of course, once you're in that awareness, then yes, you're right, it just disappears.
So how can it be real then? So this is how you learn that it's illusion. If it can just disappear and I'm not aware of it, and it then how can it be real? Because if it were real, it would always have to be there, wouldn't it? Couldn't just be undone like that. Couldn't just be transcended. So this is how you learn practically that the world's an illusion. Conceptually, we can study this. I mean, I understood. I'd heard the concept of the world's an illusion for quite a long time. I didn't really get it until one day I was like reading the disappearance of the universe and saying that God didn't create the universe, and I looked around and I went, excuse my French, but this is what I thought. Holy shit, I get it. I'm sitting in a dream right now. None of this is
so when real. Was that after the Vipassana or even before the Vipassana?
Oh no, this is a long time ago. This was, I'd been studying the course for maybe a year or two, back in about 2007, somewhere around there, 2006, 7, 8, somewhere around there. I can't remember exactly. And I was reading a book called Disappearance of the Universe.
Oh yeah.
And for some reason, it hadn't sort of dawned on me that God didn't create the world, even though I'd read the book once. It didn't kind of penetrate. And then, they made it very explicit in Disappearance of the Universe. About a quarter of the way into it, I was reading it. And I was like, something just dropped. I was like, oh my God, I get it. I remember just looking around for a few minutes going, okay, I get like I'm just in a dream. Just none of this is really even here. It's unreal. Now I didn't really know what to do with that. So I was like, well, what do I do? So I think I had to go. So I went off and played some squash because I had a squash squash match on or something like that, you know, because what else do you do? And I remember going, oh shit, now what do I do? You know, like I really got it. There was a moment of insight there, but I didn't really know what to do with it and how that would look and how I could carry on in a dream world. So, you know, that's the work. You might have an insight like that, and then, you know, somehow you've got to be in the world, but not of it, and actually live it.
So it's just carry
Integration.
on as normal, chop wood and carry water.
Well, I mean, you carry on with a different awareness. There's no doubt, like something had shifted, and I was in a more awakened state. But okay, you still have to live your life. You know, that continues on the level of the form. You know, you still have things to do, places to go. I was still playing squash at the time, and I still had business to run, and I still had family, you know, and so on. So you carry on, but with an awareness that none of it really matters. So why are you getting upset over any of it if it doesn't matter? If it's all just a dream, is there any point in getting attached to it, getting upset by it? There isn't, you know, from that perspective. So it frees you from all of the drama of the ego, and allows you to stay connected to the state of pure formless awareness, and that starts guiding you. That starts guiding your thoughts and your words and your actions, and that's the whole point of the course, is that it facilitates that happening, which is a transformation. Okay, so my holiness must happy to go on to the next one. This is summary of lesson 39. That my holiness is my
I'll have to be a bit quick because
salvation.
I'll have to message the lady that I'm going to be a little bit late picking her up.
Okay, we've got two more. And then we'll have the meditation if you want.
Yeah, so shall I? Oh, you still read both of them? Or, yeah, not the alternative. Yeah. My holiness is my salvation.
Just read both.
My pure formless awareness is my freedom. Since my holiness saves me from all guilt, recognizing my holiness is recognizing my salvation. Since my pure formless awareness frees me from all guilt, recognizing my pure formless awareness is recognizing my freedom. It is also recognizing the salvation of the world. It is also recognizing the freedom of the world. Once I have accepted my holiness, nothing can make me afraid. Once I have accepted my pure formless awareness, nothing can make me afraid. And because I am unafraid, everyone must share my understanding, which is the gift of God to me and to the world. Nothing can, and because I am unafraid, everyone must share in my understanding, which is the gift of pure formless awareness to me and the world. My pure formless awareness is my freedom. Since my pure formless awareness frees me from all guilt, recognizing my pure formless awareness is recognizing my freedom. It is also recognizing the freedom of the world. Once I've accepted my pure formless awareness, nothing can make me afraid, and because I am unafraid, everyone must share in my understanding, which is the gift of pure formless awareness to me and the world. Well, it's just saying that this can free us from guilt and it gives us freedom from the world, but we have to accept this pure formless awareness. And then once we have, then nothing will make us afraid. So it's a gift.
And this is the only state in which we can be free. And freedom, he's trying to get us to associate freedom and love and peace and joy and everything good with this pure formless awareness, and help us to see that the ego, being the separated self concept that covers the pure formless awareness over, can never work. We'll never be free in the ego. You can't find freedom in the ego. It's not possible, because the ego is the idea that you are not free, that you are imprisoned in the construct of your own mind, in an illusion, self-created illusion, but you've just imprisoned yourself in the state of mind that's not true. Once I've accepted this awareness, I'm free of all worldly troubles and problems. None of them can really affect me because I realize that pure formless awareness is all there is. Everything else is illusion. So why would I allow that to hamper my freedom, to imprison me again when I'm actually have it right now? You know, so this teaching is saying freedom is here now. You don't have to do a whole lot of things and work to achieve freedom. It's here right now in your awareness if you accept it, in this pure formless awareness, which is accessible right now to everyone. In the now, you can recognize your freedom, you can experience your freedom, and you can stay in a state of freedom, no matter what seems to be happening in the world.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna have to get cracking because she's going to be waiting for me.
Sure. Last one.
Yeah, as quick as I can as well. I am as blessed as Son of God. I am blessed as the extension of pure formless awareness. Herein lies my claim to all good and only good. Herein lies my claim to all good and only good. I am blessed as a son of God. All good things are mine because God intended them for me. All good things are mine because pure formless awareness intended them for me.
And you just left out one. I'm blessed as an extension of
Right.
pure form awareness.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just aware that the poor girl's waiting for me. Where am I?
Just, I'm sure she can wait a couple of minutes. Just finish it.
I cannot suffer any loss, deprivation, or pain because of who I am. My soul supports me, protects me, directs me in all things. Its care for me is infinite and is with me forever. I'm eternally blessed as its extension. So it's just saying that this is our claim to all good. We are blessed by this extension of pure formless awareness, and all good things are mine and therefore extended to others. So we can't suffer anything. So our soul supports us in everything.
We just claim the blessings and live in a state of blessed awareness. If we choose to, it's because this awareness is there. It's our own fundamental awareness. That's there if we are willing to access it. And what accesses it is letting go. Let go of the other false awareness, the ego, and then what remains must be your true awareness. And in that awareness, you are blessed. I'm eternally blessed as the extension of this awareness. Once we're aware of that awareness, then blessing is our natural state. And the ego is done for, which is why it fights its corner and tries to convince us we're not blessed. And we're fearful and we're afraid and we're guilty and we're going to be attacked and we're going to be punished and so on, because that's the opposite of blessing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just read the fire just to summarize it.
Yeah, she's sick. She's going to be waiting for me. I really don't want to.
Okay.
Poor girls come all the way from Egypt.
Yeah. My pure formless awareness develops everything I perceive, and my pure formless awareness blesses the world. And there's nothing that this awareness cannot do. And it's this pure formless awareness is my freedom. And so I'm blessed as an extension of this pure formless awareness. And you can see the logical sequence of ideas, and they're all connected.
Yeah.
Stay in that blessing.
I will. Yeah.
Don't let time stress you. Just it's all perfect. You'll probably find that she's actually just about ready to go when you arrive. So
yeah, of course. Right. Okay.
So we'll skip the meditation, and I'll see you. Do you want to skip tomorrow, do a session tomorrow, or do you want to do Thursday?
Thursday I'll be traveling. Yeah, I'm traveling. It's going to be difficult this week. It's going to be quite difficult.
Do you want to do Friday instead? Why don't we do Friday?
Can I message you, because at the moment I'm like, Yeah, I don't want to be chasing my tail. I just want to do things slowly at the moment.
So,
Yeah.
so get your travel out of the way, and then maybe we can do a
Yeah.
session Friday.
Yeah. I'll message you when I've got a free time. Yeah. And
Yeah.
also to
Okay.
tally with yourself as well. Yeah, of course. Right. Okay. Thank you very
All
much,
right.
John.
Thanks,
Thank
Elaine.
you. Bye.
Have a
Namaste.
lovely evening. Namaste.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so that's a wrap. It's getting kind of dark here, as you can see. But if you've listened to the session, thanks for joining. You can subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the session. So why not do that? In fact, I'm just going to put a light on in a moment. So yeah, just you can sign up to the channel, subscribe to receive notifications whenever I go live, which is typically 5 or 6 days a week. And also visit lifepool.com. You can see the spelling of that. Just put a .com on the end. The URL's below. You get access to some of the material that I shared, the daily quote, and mind training lesson, and some at least one short mini meditation or breath break, as I call it, to help you practice that lesson. So lifepool.com with your mobile number and your Telegram to get the information, which is a messaging app. If you haven't got it, you can download it for free on the Google Play Store or the App Store. And finally, join us for one of these live sessions. So go to theaolt.com to find out more about how you can do that and register for one of those. So I hope to connect with you soon on the inside, and wish you a very peaceful, flowing evening or day ahead. Namaste, which means the true self in me knows love, peace, and joy, acknowledges and honors that same true self of love, peace, and joy in you. And wishing you much love, peace, and joy. Bye for now.